Hello Jean-Philippe, welcome to La French Tech on Air. We actually meet here in Commons, and I'd like to thank Commons for welcoming us today, and thank a specific welcome to you in Romania, because I know you came recently for a few days, and you're actually enjoying a bit of time in Bucharest. So thank you for taking the time to meet with us. I'm Guillaume. I'm a board member of La French Tech and here in Bucharest, and I'm very glad that we can speak about your company, yourself and your company, so Spectronite. Can you please maybe start with introducing yourself, where you come from, what studies did you do, and how did you actually grow up? Because your startup is actually coming after a lot of experience, professional experience in different companies. So if you can just come back on this.
Of course. Good morning, Guillaume. It's a pleasure to be hosted here by the French Tech in Romania and in Bucharest. So with regard to my personal experience, you mean I do have a scientific background. I graduated in signal processing in 1997, I think, from a French university. I started my career in Germany. At Siemens in Munich, and I spent my first 3 years at Siemens in speech recognition. And then I had the opportunity to come back to France and join Bouygues Telecom for a thrilling 6 years, out of which I had the opportunity to spend 2 years in the USA, in Silicon Valley, 2001, 2002, I think. And later on, I wanted to open up my perspective to a more international view on the telecommunication market, and I joined Texas Instruments, which is a US-based company, of course, Texas-based, and I was my office was located in the south of France, and I was taking care of mobile operators for the European and Asian and EMEA operators. So that was a great experience that lasted for 3 years, and then I started my different startup ventures, starting in 2009 onwards till today, till Spectronite today, basically.
And since we speak about Spectronite, so my understanding of Spectronite is that you accelerate the deployment of 4G and 5G networks for telecommunication operators. I have a scientific background myself, as I told you, but engineering one, but it was a bit complex for me to get into details. Could you please explain what actually Spectronite does, and what is actually the offering that Spectronite is coming? Because it's a very niche one, a very technical one, but it's actually a very disruptive one at the same time, if I understood well.
Yeah. So to better understand, let's start from the basics. So this is my mobile phone. Whenever I'm placing a call, my phone is connecting to base stations. The base stations are the white antennas you see on top of houses' roofs. And these base stations, they concentrate all the communications coming from all the mobile phones in the area. And they need to be themselves connected to the operator's network. And there are two main ways to do this. The first one is fiber optics. So people tend to think that there's fiber optics everywhere and base stations are connected to it, but mostly base stations are connected through wireless links. So these are what we call point-to-point links or microwave links from some time. You can see there are some horizontal pointing antennas at the bottom of the base stations from time to time, and they create radio links that cover distances from 1 kilometer to 5, 10, 30, 50 kilometers in some cases. And those links are carrying all the communications from all the users, from a base station to another, from hops to hops, and they really create the backbone of the mobile networks. This is where we are. This is our market, these point-to-point radio links. We manufacture equipment, so we do some hardware. We manufacture the hardware equipment that sit right behind the antenna, just before the transmission. The disruption that we bring to the market is that whereas most of our competitors, or the disruption we bring is we really help creating very high capacity transmissions. We have a 10x capacity increase compared to the traditional radios that you can buy from Huawei, Ericsson, or Nokia on the market today. So really, this helps operators to transition from 4G to 5G.
Okay, so just to recap, if my understanding is okay, but so you are selling the box actually, which is transmitting signal to signal. So if I'm a telco operator, I need to equip my antennas, my antennas in the country to actually relay this signal, and you are also selling a software part, which is actually, I guess, in the box itself as well, which is the way you transmit. And
yes, you're correct.
And the business model, how does it work? Do you only, let's say, sell the box, or do you also have a kind of as a service on the software part? Meaning, is it something that can evolve in time? Is it how does it work, this software and hardware part, without getting into secrets?
No, of course. Actually, this industry today for the point-to-point links is mostly hardware. So the equipment that operators are buying from the big names today are really locked in capacity by their hardware structure. They can't evolve. But to benefit from the 5G, you really need to increase the capacity vastly and beyond what hardware architectures are able to provide today. So for that, we are transitioning from a pure hardware model to a hardware and software model. And so, of course, we are manufacturing and selling an equipment, a piece of equipment. The real target for us inside this equipment is a very high-speed programmable processor, on top of which we are running our software. And what our software does, it's really creating very high capacity transmission. So yes, with regards, I just described the products we sell. So basically the hardware and some software licenses. But with regards to the business model, of course, we sell the equipment, and on top of that, we sell capacity by license. But also, as we believe that mobile operators' networks are going to transition from pure hardware to software, being virtualized as time goes by, and we have a real broad offering of services that we can provide through our software offering. We're starting with capacity, but we have many different steps that we are preparing, up to cognitive networks and self-organizing networks, where the equipment itself can decide what frequency to use, what capacity is most needed at some point in the network or in a specific location, to really adapt the capacity of the network based on users' demand. And this is something that we will be providing in the long term. It needs some regulatory evolutions, of course, but
I was thinking about the regulatory landscape, which is actually preventing. Yeah.
But actually, we're already heading there. That's really what our software models allow operators to do.
Great. Thank you very much. So I think I got it now. And so, where is Spectronite today? What is the size of the company? How many employees do you have? At what stage are you? Because it's 5 years now that Spectronite exists, as far as I've seen on the net.
The company has been founded in 2020, but actually it's a whole lot of work that we had to do prior to founding the company. I think the actual R&D work started back in 2017, and we managed to get two important steps right at the beginning of 2020. The first one was we were able to finalize or make sure that we had a technical feasibility, that we would be able to pass all the different hurdles prior to getting a product done. And the second very important step for us was to get market validation. I cannot advise more a startup company today to look for market validation at a very early stage. In our case, it was even prior to founding the company. So I had the opportunity to meet with Orange in France, who's heading the Orange Group, and I was able to get some to raise the interest of Orange that definitely was very interested in seeing our technology develop. So once I got those two very important points, both feasibility, technological feasibility, as well as market interest, then I founded the company. And we got selected, by the way, by Orange, the Orange Group, because from time to time, Orange has called for projects, and they were looking for innovative startups to help them on the 5G part. And we got selected by Orange in 2020, which really helped us accelerate the company development.
So you had the client almost
very early in the process.
You funded the company, so it's actually great.
And today the product is not yet ready. The technology is ready. What's ahead of us before we can start selling the product is industrialization. So going from one prototype to volume production.
So you need thousands of boxes actually to equip just one country.
Exactly.
And actually you had this market validation, let's say at the time you funded more or less the company. From a personal perspective, because you were actually working for multinational companies, let's say for a while, and we always talk about the golden handcuffs, like so at one point, is it complicated to switch from this let's say corporate environment where you had an important job and I guess a comfortable life to actually taking the decision to give up on that and found your own company with before market validation, I would say, meaning even today not fully launched and still with a lot of risk. So
yes,
it's a midlife crisis, or was it?
Not necessarily. It's not comfortable to jump from a big company to a startup company. Definitely not. You're right. But in my case, if I look back, I think I should have done that 10 years prior to the date I did it. I really regret not doing it before. But even though the experience I gained in the large corporations where I worked has been really instrumental in having the knowledge and having the confidence to go for such a large market and trying to compete with some of the largest equipment manufacturers in the world. So you're right. It's a mixed feeling of jumping in an unknown territory, and I really am, from a personality point of view, it's really important. It was really important for me to be able to go for.
And the family supported. No?
And the family supported it. Yeah.
Because you could not create Spectronite, before you have enough experience to be able to design the product.
Definitely.
And at the same time, then you are actually in a comfortable position, which is with a family and so on, which is a bit maybe harder to do. So
yeah,
I'm asking as well because I'm more or less thinking about it from time to time, and I was thinking, how do we do that? So your experience is actually very welcome. How many employees do you have in Spectronite today in terms of size? It's pure R&D so far?
It's
plus a bit of commercial?
It's a mix of R&D. I'm doing the sales myself, and really it's a very easy sell case for operators are really buying capacity. I mean, they really need capacity. So whenever you're a company coming up with a solution that helps them increase by a 10x factor the capacity of their network, it's a very easy sell for sure. I took the decision to go for a very small team, but with very high, really talented people. We are a bunch of PhDs in the company. We are only 10 people today. 3 of them are PhD profiles. We have 5 different nationalities. We are really trying to get the most out of each and every person in the group. We have just closed the research part of the product development, which was really not easy, but it's behind us today. And now we are more in the development phase and industrialization, which so the team is really very technical. I really think that the small team that we have is very high profile team compared to larger equipment vendors. Even some of them I talked to recently. I think we really have a very talented and very high profile personalities within the team. So
that's great. And you have a good pizza team there. So you kept the pizza.
Good pizza team. Yeah.
Good pizza team. Yeah. So after 5 years, and you were just saying that you finished the research part and you are going to the industrialization part now. What were the main hurdles that you had creating Spectronite, funding it, etc.? Was it really the engineering part, I would say, the research part, which was painful, finding someone to actually support this project and be interested? I guess I understood that the interest was coming very fast because the promise is quite interesting for them. And then how did you get with the fundings and the...
So nothing is easy, really. I don't want to discourage anyone.
Everyone who would do it, so...
Of course, but I think creating a startup company and making it a success is a war, and a war is composed of many different battles. One of them is funding. It's one of the key battles, by the way. The other battle is getting the right people on board, which tends to be more difficult than people may think. And then you have also your battles, your own personal battles to fight with sometimes the family, as you said earlier. And on top of that, founding the company in 2020, we had the battle of COVID. So it was really a painful process to go through, but very motivating, definitely. Funding the company is really a challenge. We are operating in telecom. We're operating in 5G, a very promising product, even very good traction from key or high-profile customers. So I had the opportunity to talk to very large VC groups in France and some of them in Europe quite early. By the summer 2020, after just 6 months after having created the company, I had the chance to talk to very large VCs. But it was not the time. It was too early. I spent, I think, 9 months with those guys with the promise that they would invest, and eventually they never invested, right? And they did it twice. So another 6 months from 2021 to 2022, talking to some of the same groups plus other ones. And really sometimes I think there's funding a company is like climbing up a stair. Even if you're talking to the VCs that gonna invest in your company after 5 years, if you start talking to them very early in the process, you shouldn't think that those guys are going to invest. You have to climb stair 1, 2, 3, 4 until you can reach these guys, and they will invest eventually.
But you would advise to keep contact with them anyway?
Definitely. We have raised quite a significant amount of money end of 2022, not with these VCs, but I'm in contact already with about 10 VCs. I've been in contact with them for about 2 years now. And I really think that for my next round of funding, I already know the VCs that are going to invest in my company because they've been following up what we've done. And I really advise talking to larger investors early, but not rely too much on them.
Yeah, not to get the money, but
to
be on the radar.
To get the awareness from their side, to be on the radar, to make sure that whenever they see, it's also funding a company is building a relationship of trust with those guys. So you have to tell them what you're gonna do, and they need to see that you've done what you said, right? And I've been doing that for 2 years now, and I think I have really a relationship of trust with some of the very large VCs in France. And for our Series A, that's going to open up at the beginning of 2024. I'm really confident we're going to close this quite quickly.
No, finger crossed then.
Thank you.
Merde, as we say in French. And I'm coming to Romania. So you are in Bucharest today, and I'd like, on behalf of French Tech Bucharest, to thank actually you to make this trip to Bucharest. I understand that you took the opportunity and you have personal, let's say, a relationship with Romania at large, but from a Spectronite point of view, how do you position yourself with your relationship with Romania, let's say, or with the region at large? Because I understood it was a regional topic, even more broader than just Romania.
Yeah, actually, if we are looking at the world's map today, where our product has the biggest fit or the best fit, this is really where mobile networks are deploying fast. So it's Latin America, Southeast Asia, Middle East and Africa, and and you have also in Europe the countries where you see a very large use of wireless technology like ours is rather on the eastern part. So there are two large territories for us that are of high interest. One is Romania, one is Poland. Even though we have engagement with other operators in other geographies, but on the eastern part of Europe, really our technology is a key enabler, I believe. We're not selling the product yet, but I want to raise the awareness of local operators here in Romania, so that whenever we are ready to start, we'd be very glad to get started in Romania, in Poland, in these countries that have very specific geographies where the countries are quite large, and the population is also not so dense, and the population is not highly concentrated in only a couple of cities, right? When I had the opportunity for a few days to spend some time driving in Romania end of last week, actually, and you really see that the population is really spread across all the geography, and you see operators, base stations, almost everywhere in the country. And that's where we think that our product has the most value, really to link and to increase the capacity of these networks as the years are going to pass and the traffic is going to increase.
I arrived in Romania personally in 2015, and actually I was coming from Paris, and I discovered what 4G was when I came in Romania, because before I was using Paris network, which was called 4G, but it was like 3G speed and so on. And when I joined Romania and I was in the middle of the mountain, there was nothing around me, but I had a very quick connection, and I could watch HD movies on platforms like YouTube or something in the middle of nowhere. So clearly the network was redeveloped because of historical reasons, was developed quite late and with newer technology. So it's actually a very good market for you, because these implementations came quite early. I'm coming back to something you mentioned, because I checked actually your LinkedIn profile, and my very first internship in France was actually with Bouygues Telecom in 2001, formalizing some innovation that actually Bouygues Telecom was doing at the time, and I saw that exactly at the same date you were in Silicon Valley for Bouygues Telecom. You mentioned it a bit earlier. And so I think we worked together without knowing it, or we had some relationship at the time. How did this experience in Silicon Valley, which is 20-ish years ago, as you mentioned, how did it shape you? Did it change something on the way you apprehend today your entrepreneurship, let's say. Sometimes in France we are a bit afraid of risk. How did it change something for you these 2 years in the US at this time?
Yes, definitely. I think so. The risk is something that you can manage. I mean, there are ways of managing risk. But there's something I definitely learned in Silicon Valley is the ambition and daring to do something. It's not really
on the risk part. It's more.
It's not really on the risk part. It's more on, do I believe as an individual that I can really change and shape an industry? Yes, why not? And I really think that this is an important part. This is how you get conscious that you have the resources either in you or with the people around you, and with the talents that you might meet on the way, that you can shape an industry or that you can make an innovation happen. And I think that's really what is something quite strong in my experience in Silicon Valley was really, I mean, my goal at Bouygues Telecom, I'm glad to hear we were working for Bouygues Telecom in the same time. My job was to take my car in the morning and scout for startups. And for some of the startups were of interest for Bouygues Telecom and for the Bouygues Group at large. And then I was creating connections with the companies in France. Some of them were not, but so I had the opportunity to meet people doing very, very different things. And there was a common trait of personality with all these guys. It's that they were really candid in believing that they could change something. Today, whenever I'm telling people what Spectronite does, the first question is, okay, but look at who are your competitors. You have Huawei, Ericsson, and Nokia. Why do you think you can challenge those guys? And yes, because basically Nokia, Ericsson, and Huawei, these are just people, simple people eventually, just like you and me, and there's no difference. It's just really a matter of people, a matter of having I think the ambition of doing something that I learned there by the time.
There may be someone in his garage somewhere in the US or wherever in the world having the same idea as you have. Still, you are going with your idea. Did you think about that? Because the big competitors, they don't move so fast. But the disruption can come from a very small individual company that is not even in the sector and so on. So how do you play with this competition? How do you analyze this?
Yeah, I think this is a crucial point, and this is something I've learned at Texas Instruments mainly. I think it's on the sales side, you're told to know your customers, right? So challenge an idea with your customers even early in the process helps a lot. But know your market and know your competition is also something that's key. And I've spent, Texas Instruments is a company where I spent 3 years. They are a vendor of silicon, of semiconductors. So whenever something is happening on the market, it's very often triggered by semiconductors in our industry in telecommunication. So I spent quite some time talking to companies that are selling semiconductors in our industry to understand where they are going, what's their roadmap, trying to understand if there were other talking to them, trying to understand if there were other players active in this field. And I, by chance, or not only by chance, I think it happens that there is no one on the radar today that's working on our field. For entrepreneurs who are trying to launch an idea, who really dare to do so, I really think that knowing your customers and knowing your competition is key.
Because in the end you secured your market. Let's say at the time you funded the company, you analyzed the competition as well, or potential competition.
Yes.
At the same time, and so you feel a bit more relaxed to go with the idea because you know you have a time for research and development that you need.
Exactly. And as you said, the big companies are slow movers. So the danger could come more from a startup company who would be based in the US, get a huge funding, 10x the funding that you would get in Europe and go much faster. So, but this is not happening.
So you're not HQ'd in Paris, you're HQ'd in France, but you're HQ'd in Sophia Antipolis. So for the one who don't know, Sophia Antipolis, it's close to Nice, in the south of France. It's a very nice place where you have a lot of innovation happening actually in France. There's a full campus of companies, tech companies in Sophia Antipolis, and there is schools also, engineering schools if I remember well, and business schools. So there is an ecosystem there. Most of the people listening to us and wanting to go in France, usually they think about Paris and they go to Paris. We have a few examples of startups we've met. Ariadnex, for instance, they are in Rennes, close to Rennes. But most of the time they are in around Paris. Why Sophia Antipolis? And is it, from your perspective, an advantage, an inconvenience to be 800 kilometers from Paris?
It's definitely making our life more difficult not to be in Paris, frankly. But if I try to look at our project from a higher perspective, our market is not even France, our market is the world, really. So being just 100 kilometers away from Paris whenever you're looking at the world map is a small problem to solve, I would say. Even though on the day-to-day, you're right, it's a bit tricky from time to time. I'd love to have a high-speed train going straight from Nice to Paris, because I hate flying over there like once a week. Just to meet people in Paris. So it's a mixed answer of yes, it's a handicap not being central in France because everything is happening in Paris. I have a team in Paris actually. Even some of the team members are located there because they don't want to leave Paris for very obvious family reasons. So they're helping me as a relay as well. But yes, it's not difficult. It's a bit difficult not to be in Paris. But if you're not ready to overcome this difficulty, then you don't go to look for international customers.
Okay, but you still have it's very good to live in Sofia, no?
Yeah, it's quite nice being on the Mediterranean Sea. Yeah, definitely. It makes your weekend way more relaxed. Compared to the stress of the week.
Just get out of work and can play pétanque. I'm coming back to the telco industry, but I think we touched base on it a bit. So as I was telling you, my vision of the telco, let's say, challenges is that actually they have huge investments in infrastructure to be done. There is a bit of regulatory topics as well, but mostly huge investments in infrastructure that are accelerating. So the generations, I don't have the figures, but between 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, I'm pretty sure that there is an acceleration. So they will have to invest huge amounts, bigger and bigger amounts in a shorter term. And the clients, all the clients are asking for lower prices.
Yes.
And they are consuming more and more data as we go. So the volume that they have to deliver in terms of data is actually increasing at the same time. Do you agree with this perspective? Do you see any other challenge? And I understand that Spectronite is actually answering a part of this, part of those challenges actually, if I understand well now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have very well summed up the situation of mobile operators, especially the ones in Europe. The amount of mobile data I think it's doubling every 18 months. So this is really the volume of data that's going through a mobile network is doubling every 18 months. For an operator, it looks like they have to build a new network every 18 months. It's really a nightmare for them to be able to cope with it. And then, as you said, there's quite some pressure from the market pressure on the prices they can sell their plans for. They're working for content owners or studios or streaming companies that take probably 18%, 80% of the bandwidth, that's of the mobile network's bandwidth, is to transport videos and Netflix streams, right? So how, for them, it's really, I think they're a bit in a corner where they are trying to balance they're asking right now the content industry to have something like balanced investments where as an operator, they should not be the ones paying for the infrastructure and let the others benefit of it, right? From it. So I think it was a very good summary. They are having a hard time and we are trying to make their life easier on two fronts. The first one is capacity. How to increase the capacity more easily for their network and cope with the increasing demand for data, mobile data. And in the same time, I think there's a very important part in the technology we've built, which is we allow them to reduce significantly the power consumption of their radio network. And I think this is something that was a side dish part of our innovation at the beginning of the company. Even for me, it was an important part, but for operators, my early discussions were not. It was not a topic that was picking up easily in the sales discussion. But I can tell you that since 2022,
there is sensitivity around the energy.
And we definitely see that as one of the very strong points for our innovation. I was visiting an operator about 3 weeks ago, and they told me that it's for them, what we bring is it's as much important to increase the capacity than to reduce the power consumption. For them, it was like the two main differentiation we bring on the market. So
if we look at the European, at least EU operators, they have a huge ambition of carbon neutrality and reduce the consumption and optimize the consumption, when at the same time growing their activities quite largely. So there's indeed a challenge here. So we'll finish with a question open question on the future. So what's the ambition for Spectronite? How do you see the future? Do you see it vertical, meaning keeping this, let's say, as a box and software part? Do you want to launch new products and restart the R&D process on something else, or multiply the clients? Or what's the ambition that you fix to yourself, and what's the timeline you have in mind for launching all your boxes in Romania? Why not? But
yes, definitely in Romania would be very interesting for us. So as I said, the commercial launch is just a year from now. Within the next 5 years, I want to put Spectronite on the worldwide map of telecom solution provider. The part of the net where we operate is an ancient industry, quite an old part of the network. It's been untouched for like 20 plus years. The technology has not changed. We want to bring to that part of the network the evolution that software brought to the other industry at large in the past 10 to 15 years, right? So I think we have transitioning from pure hardware to hardware and software and benefiting from all the features and all the flexibility that software is bringing. I think this is really something that will get us busy for the next 5, 10, 15 years, definitely. We're starting with capacity, but soon we're going to help operator having a dynamic usage of their network. There's always something that strikes me. If you look at a mobile network by nature, is serving mobile users, right? So at one time of the day, you will have more users in Bucharest, and in the evening, they might be outside the city, right? But if you're looking at the mobile operators infrastructure, they are trying to address these moving users with a fixed capacity. So what we bring with the software offering is to be able to have a mobile capacity for mobile users, right? To make it...
To reallocate where people are.
Exactly. Just concentrate, it's like a human body, concentrate the blood where it's most needed. In winter, it's in the hand for it's cold. But really to make the network as agile and self-organizing as 5G helps that to do.
Great. So I wish the best to Spectronite. I will
Thank
definitely follow up on that, and I'm glad that you could visit us in Romania. Thank you very much. You're the first one, so you'll be the godfather of this series.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll keep you posted. But as I told you, you're the first one in this renewal of the Bucharest Touch for La French Tech. So thank you very much for that, and see you very soon.
Thank you, Guillaume. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.